So UFC 317 just went down. We had Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira, Alejandro Pantoja versus Kai Kara-France, Brandon Royval versus Joshua Van, Renato Moicano versus Beneil Dariush, and Payton Talbot versus Felipe Lima on the main card. Let's recap them. I'm still stunned by that main event. We'll get into that, of course, but first off, let's talk about Payton Talbot versus Felipe Lima. This was a great fight, and Payton Talbot, this was a massive fight for him. You got to remember, last time out, he'd lost to Ronnie Barcelos, kind of got fraud-checked, kind of showed that he didn't have the grappling or the wrestling to hang in the UFC. So what did he do? He went back to the drawing board, he worked on it, trained that in his camp, and look what happened in this fight. He was able to hang with Lima in the grappling exchanges, he was able to reverse him, he was able to get on top, and he was able to land some ground and pound. Payton Talbot looked really good in this fight, looked really complete, and this is the type of victory he needed in order to continue in the bantamweight division, because if he lost this fight, that would mean 2 losses in a row, and the hype would pretty much be gone. So I'm happy Talbot was able to go in there and get the job done. Lima is no slouch whatsoever, a super tough fight, and this is a super good win on Payton Talbot's resume. I'm interested to see what happens with Payton Talbot next. He called out Adrian Yanez, which would be an awesome fight. I wouldn't mind seeing that, so we'll see what the UFC does. Next up the card, Renato Moicano versus Beneil Dariush, and this fight was a 50-50 from the get-go in my opinion. I saw a world where both guys could win, but I didn't think Moicano was going to show up like that. I think Renato would be the first to admit that that was not his best performance. He wasn't able to really get going at all against Beneil. He had that knockdown in round 1, and he tried to finish the fight, but he wasn't able to. And then as the fight went on, he just looked worse and worse. I don't really know how to describe it because I don't even think Dariush was that insane in this fight. Yes, he was able to grapple with Moicano. Yes, he was able to control him, but he didn't really do a whole lot of damage against him. I still think like the fight was there for Moicano to win at any point. But as the fight went on, it became even more clear that Renato was just gassing out and he just wasn't generating enough power whatsoever. And by then, Beneil Dariush was controlling the fight. He was controlling Renato in most of the grappling exchanges, and he was able to pick up a victory for the first time in 2 years. Yeah, Dariush hasn't fought in a really long time. He was able to get in there and pick up a win against a guy in Renato Moicano, who is still a pretty good opponent, but this was a fumble from Moicano. This was a fight he needed to win to get back in that title conversation, sorta. So probably really disappointing for him. And for Beneil Dariush, I mean, I guess he could try and have one more crack, one more run at the lightweight belt. I don't think he's going to get anywhere near it, but I mean, he could try. Why not? He got the win, so good for him. And Moicano, I mean, it's a tough one. I do think if this fight happened before the Islam Makhachev fight that he had, I think Moicano would have won. I don't care what anyone says. Yes, Moicano took that fight on 24 hours notice, but he's a man. He has pride, and losing to a man that quickly when he's the champion of the division you're chasing the belt in, that's going to hurt no matter what, and that's going to mess you up psychologically. Now on to probably fight of the year, honestly. Joshua Van, Brandon Royval. What a war. What a bloodbath. These two were just landing back and forth for 15 minutes straight. Brandon Royval's output in this fight was simply ridiculous. He was landing on Joshua Van pretty much all the time, but all the big shots, all the ooh and ah moments were coming from Joshua Van. Van wasn't hitting him as much, but when he was landing, it was much more effective. And I think Royval, he did well in this fight. I don't think there really would have been anything he could have changed. Yeah, maybe he could have landed a couple more shots. Yeah, maybe he could have tried to shoot for a takedown or two. But at the end of the day, he fought his style, and he fought the best fight he possibly could. And honestly, he almost won the fight. I had it 29-28. That 30-27 was just honestly ridiculous. It was not a 30-27. 29-28 was the scorecard, and that's what happened. Joshua Van, he's got crisp boxing, man. He's some of the best boxing I've seen in the UFC at this point, and I am really, really excited for the fight with Alejandro Pantoja. I think obviously that's the fight that needs to be made next, and props to Joshua Van, man. 23 years old, took this fight on like 3 weeks notice and just beat the #1 contender. That's serious shit. This dude's a problem. I can't wait to see where his career goes from here. Now on to the co-main event. Previously mentioned, Alejandro Pantoja submitted Kai Kara-France, and he just looks so impressive doing it. Pantoja, I mean, this guy is easily one of the most slept on dudes on the roster. Top 5 pound for pound easily for me. I think there's no debates. That's his 4th title defense, and he just made it look easy against Kai Kara-France, honestly. There wasn't one point where Kai had any success in that fight. There wasn't a point where I thought he was going to win that fight. I knew Pantoja was going to win right from the start, really, when I saw him shoot in on Kai, get a takedown instantly, and work from there. Pantoja, this dude's a legend, honestly, at this point. One of the best flyweights of all time. Super well-rounded. And yeah, like I said, I want to see the Joshua Van fight, but I do want to give him a chance after that fight, if he gets through Van, to go up and challenge Merab Dvalishvili for the 135-pound belt. If there's any champ that deserves double champ status at this point, it's Pantoja. He's run through the division completely, and going up to 135 and beating a guy like Merab would do insane things for his legacy. Do I think he would beat Merab? I don't know. I'm a bit on the fence just because I think the size difference would be massive, but who can count out Pantoja at this point, man? He's completely well-rounded and probably gives Merab a tougher fight than anybody at 135, honestly, at this point. So, Pantoja, go fight Joshua Van. Let that be an amazing fight. Let that happen, honestly, towards the end of the year, November, December, and then at the beginning of 2026, Merab Dvalishvili, Alejandro Pantoja for the bantamweight title. It sounds beautiful. Last but certainly not least, Charles Oliveira versus Ilia Topuria. Ilia Topuria KOs Charles Oliveira in the very first round. That was tough to watch, man. Seeing Charles like that, it really sucked. But I was prepared for it because I knew Ilia was going to win this fight. I knew he was going to land the KO blow because Charles just too chinny and he comes forward way too much right into Ilia's range. And that's exactly what happened. Honestly, though, at first, I think Charles was finding success. It looked like at the start of this fight that Charles was going to be a little too big for Topuria. He got him up against the cage, had double underhooks on him, and was looking for a takedown. And it looked like he was just too big and kind of bullying Ilia with power and just sheer size and strength. But that's definitely not what happened. When Charles went for the takedown, Ilia reversed it, ended up on top, landed some shots, cut open Charles, and then he got up, and Charles almost had a heel hook on him, almost caught him in a knee bar. There was actually one that was really close, but it didn't work out. Charles had to come up to his feet, and that was the beginning of the end. He went in, tried to land on Ilia. Ilia cracked him with the straight right, followed up with the left hook, sat his ass down, knocked him out, and then landed a couple hammers for extra measure. Ilia is just a beast. The best fighter in the UFC, in my opinion. That's almost undeniable. Knocking out Volk, knocking out Max, knocking out Charles. That's the greatest 3-fight run in UFC history, in my opinion. And he just goes to show every time that he believes exactly what he says. He's not ignorant. He's not arrogant. What he says actually happens. He said he was going to KO Charles in the first round, and that's exactly what he did. So instead of hating Ilia for knocking out your favorite fighter, I think it's time that we start appreciating him and appreciate the fighter that he's going to become. There you guys have it, though. Those are my thoughts on UFC 317. Let me know if you guys agree with me in the comments down below. Let me know what fight was your favorite, what you didn't like, and also do a bit of matchmaking for me as well. Let me know who you want to see some of these dudes fight in the near future. Thank you all for watching this video. Be sure to check out videos just like this one. I'll see you all in the next one.